Drinking buddies, get your tinfoil hat ready because I have the 3 best Buffalo Trace tinfoil hat theories out there. I also did something I said I would never do again. So, a little preview to that. Let's go.
I'm your drinking buddy.
All right, drinking buddies. So this is going to be my top 3 Buffalo Trace conspiracy theories. And we're going to begin with one that I actually don't believe. So for me, I will be taking the tinfoil hat off for this one because I don't believe this one. But this is one that's out there. This is one that's out there in the ethers. This is one that you might even believe. But before we get started, I'm going to ask that you guys hit the like button and subscribe if you're not a subscriber, because those things really help me out. And I do stuff like this all the time. If you've never seen my channel before, I post a lot of videos and they're very informative. Anyway, number 1, Buffalo Trace creates artificial scarcity, and they don't want their whiskey to be on shelves because if they did, then, you know, people would buy it and it would just sit there and collect dust. Something to that effect. You know, basically people think that Buffalo Trace is creating artificial scarcity, and if they wanted to, they could get Blanton's on every shelf. And, you know, by the numbers, Buffalo Trace is one of the biggest distillers in the world. When they're done with their expansions, they might even be the biggest distiller in the world, depending upon who you ask. But there's not exact numbers of how many bottles they produce each year, how many barrels they produce each year, but they are ranked higher than many big hitters. Like, they produce more whiskey than MGP by a substantial margin. And 99% of the bottles sitting on shelves in stores is MGP. So if, you know, they're not producing this whiskey and then hiding it somewhere, they're producing this whiskey and aging it longer than most people do. So that's a big part of it. You know, bottles like Weller 12 are supposed to be shelf bottles, but we have hyped them so much that there are a lot of people that have 12 to 15 of these sitting in their closet, and that's going to affect availability. It really is. You and I are contributing to this by every time we hoard these things. So that's a big part of it. I think that one of the main reasons why Buffalo Trace is becoming harder to find is because of us. We're hyping it. And yes, I'm obviously guilty of that. I'm literally making a Buffalo Trace video as we speak. I don't know if you noticed that. Now, we're going to move on to theory number 2 because I just don't buy this one. I think that if they wanted to put Blanton's on more shelves, they would do. Or if they could put Blanton's on more shelves, they would. The truth is, they put bottles on shelves and they sell out immediately. You know, even things that I like that are allocated sit on shelves for a while. Whereas Buffalo Trace, it's pretty much instantaneous. It hits a shelf, it's sold. So anyway, for theory number 2, this one is 100% mine. I have not seen this theory anywhere out there in the ethers. I even tried to do a Google search and I couldn't find anything about this. No one is talking about this one. And it is interesting. When I was at Buffalo Trace, I did the tour and he said, we have 4 mash bills. And I said, hold on, you have 5 mash bills. And he's like, no, we have 4 mash bills. And I'm like, what about E.H. Taylor Straight Rye? And he's like, oh, that's the same mash bill as Sazerac Rye and Thomas Handy and etc. And I'm like, no, it's not. But I didn't want to argue with him. So I waited until there was a break in the tour and I showed him on his own website, on the Buffalo Trace website, it says it's 95.5 rye. And we know that it's distilled in Kentucky, okay? But he said, you know, they don't make that there. Anyway, you'll notice on the back of the bottle, we have our distillery numbers. So on here it says KY DSP KY 113, same as this. But then right after that, it says DSP KY 12. I have here 1792 bottle and bond, DSP KY 12. This whiskey is not Buffalo Trace juice. This whiskey is Barton 1792 juice in a Buffalo Trace bottle. That might be a turnoff to some, but I think this is great whiskey, so it doesn't matter who's making it. It's just kind of interesting that, you know, this is being sold as a Buffalo Trace bottle. It's being sold as, you know, E.H. Taylor when it's not even Buffalo Trace. But yeah, it says distilled and aged at Old Fashioned Copper Distillery, which is odd because that must be the original name of the E.H. Taylor one, but that's the same thing it says on here. Meanwhile, on here it says distilled and aged at Barton 1792 Distillery, Bardstown. So why is the DSP number on here if you made it in Frankfurt? Anyway, there's some confusion here. Let me know in the comments what you think about this one, but I believe the 1792 straight rye to be Barton juice. Number 3, now this is a wild one. In this class, I have something I said I would never do, and I did it for you guys. So please hit the like button and let me know and tell me in the comments if I was dumb to do it again, because I've been burned so many times before. But guys, I bought a Total Wine bottle. So here's my tinfoil hat theory for this one. This makes all kinds of talk on here about using emmer wheat. And I did a little research and I couldn't find anywhere in Kentucky. This says distilled in Kentucky, bottled in Kentucky, okay? I couldn't find anywhere online where they said there was a Kentucky whiskey using emmer wheat, except for Daniel Weller. But before you freak out and say that I'm saying this is the same as Daniel Weller, I'm not. So bear with me for a moment. But my tinfoil hat is ready because, anyway, there is a distillery in Wyoming that uses emmer wheat. That's all I could find. And we know that Daniel Weller used the emmer wheat. Now, my theory is that this could be, I'm not saying it is, I'm saying this could be reject Daniel Weller. $500 bottle. Now, this was $45. I used a coupon, $45 and some change. And it's cask strength, whereas the Daniel Weller is not. So this is 116.6 proof. Let's find out if it's good, though. It does have a nice nose. It is cherry, it is cinnamon, and it is youthy. Really admit this one's a youthy. But the cherry is strong on here. Okay, first note, it does drink a little hotter than its proof. I would guess it's probably about 120 proof. But other than that, this is not a bad whiskey. This is without a doubt the best whiskey I've ever had from Total Wine, of their brands. Do I suspect this? Do I still, after having it neat, think that it could be Buffalo Trace juice? I don't know. Who else could have made it? Who else is using emmer wheat? Tell me in the comments what you think. I have, this is actually not my theory, I will freely admit. I heard somebody else post this one to Reddit. It's claiming that they thought this could be Buffalo Trace juice. So I didn't come up with this one, but I had to test it, you know? And I do think there's a chance this could be Buffalo Trace juice because this is pretty good. I'm sure that they're not allowed to say, I'm sure there's some sort of NDA involved, but they're not allowed to say who distilled it, but there's a chance. It's giving me Buffalo Trace vibes. So if you want to get you can't find Buffalo Trace in your area, this might be a decent little, you know, alternative. Now, I will say, again, I'm reiterating that I have not liked any other Total Wine brand whiskeys. I've tried for the most part, and I had one that was okay. It was like a single Rickhouse Wilcott bottle, but it was still too expensive for what it is. That's the other thing. Total Wine bottles are not even a good they're not even a good value. Like if they were cheaper, I might recommend some of their stuff, but they're a terrible value on top of it. $100 for Chestnut Farms Bottled and Bond is a joke. It's the same whiskey as this. It's reject 1792 Bottled and Bond, and they charge double. That's just mind-blowing to me. Anyway, so before you guys call me a Total Wine employee in the comments, before you guys tell me that I'm a Total Wine, you know, shill in the comments, which is going to happen, just remember that I trash on all of their other store brands. This is just the one that I think might be worth picking up. So, do you have any Buffalo Trace conspiracy theories? Drop them in the comments. Do you think that, have you tried this bottle? What did you think of it? I think it's worth $50. I'll say that. I would say that I might have to compare this to Maker's cask strength and see if I like this better, because I think this is pretty decent. This could be better than Maker's cask strength. I don't know if I'm saying that yet, but I'm saying it's in that ballpark. Yeah, I'm actually, the more I sip on this, the more I think this is the best Total Wine brand I've ever tasted. Anyway, drinking buddies, thank you so much for watching. Every time you guys like, every time you guys subscribe to the channel, you make this thing possible. I couldn't do it without you. Cheers. We'll see you on the next one.